On another exciting episode of the Animation Deliberation podcast, we are swarming into another episode of the season as we talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 8, the Shibuya Incident. Right after these ads, we have no control over.
Sing along if you know the words. Oh, 1, 2, 3, it's time for Animation Deliberation! A conversation and a celebration of our favorite action animated series, yeah!
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Animation Deliberation, the podcast where we take action animation or cartoons seriously, but not too seriously. We're your hosts, I'm Zuhair Ali.
And I am Andrew Rogers.
And I never tell my co-hosts what I'm going to say at the beginning of these things, so their faces are very satisfying to see. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I was honestly thinking that, no one knows. We don't plan those half the time. It's only when we need to come up with, a collective idea because we're short-circuited. But when you jumped in hot this week, I was like, he's got something planned. I don't know what it is, but he didn't ask. He didn't pause to be like, let me think of something. So I knew you had it,
No.
but I was not prepared for that dad level of comedy.
I had that one loaded from the middle of the episode.
From the middle of the episode, you didn't even wait to the end of the episode. It was just halfway through. You were like, "This is what I'm going to do."
Happened, and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly how I'm starting this."
Oh my gosh, that's
that's
terrible.
Patched it together at various times.
Dad joke counter. We're gonna have in the bottom corner of the videos going this week. Jeez Louise.
Speaking of counters, my terrible dad jokes aren't the only things that we're going to be tracking. You just shared with me a little page that we have here on our shared Notion. Why don't you let the people know this little project that you're working on to keep all of us sane and in check, especially myself?
I mean, you really hyped it up to be more than it is. I decided this week to start. I mean, yeah, we're going to need it. I decided this week to start writing down when those timestamps flash on the screen of this is what time things are happening. I haven't had a chance to go back, but I think if I remember correctly, it was just after 8 o'clock was when Gojo entered the Veil the first time. But I'm going to start keeping track of it so we can see every week, okay, are these things happening at the same time? Are they happening at different times, one after the other? Like I said, I think it was sometime after 8 o'clock was when Gojo first entered the Veil. And then this week we had 2103, and translating all of that is going to be the other thing that we need to remember to do for people. Yeah, 903 is when Itadori entered the station, and then 914 was when he defeated the Locust, and 915 was when they then moved on to take on Mahito. I see Zuhair has his watch in 24-hour time. I also have my watch in 24-hour time, but that's why I'm just there's definitely people who are looking at that okay, I need to subtract the number and go from there, because if you're not trained, it's weird to deal with those timestamps. But
so one of the people that I trained with, his daughter's always watching class because her kid's class is much earlier. And after class, I always put on my watch. And at one point, she asked, why is that your numbers? So I explained it to her, and I taught her how to do the math because she's 8. So now it's whenever I put my watch on, I'm talking to somebody, I see her just kind of peek around the corner and look is it this time? And I'm just good job.
Nice.
You knew more than most people now.
Yeah, it's weird if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
But also, I could not tell you off the top of my head whether 12 a.m. is midnight or noon. So it's definitely a better system.
Yeah, definitely a much preferred one. All right. Let's tell people how to stay hydrated and just dive right in.
Diving into that hydration, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's still summer. I'm still dying outside. And whether you are exposed to the elements or not, being hydrated is a very important part of your day for your fitness, for your health, for immune system. And the best way to do that is with Liquid IV. One stick of a Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. The result of an extensive R&D process to perfect the flavor and efficacy, Liquid IV combines science-backed zero-sugar technology with the brand's commitment to delicious, real flavor. No artificial sweeteners and zero sugar, with the proprietary amino acid allulose blend for a sweet taste without the calories or raised blood glucose levels you get from sugar. Contains 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness, with 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks.
Yes, and all of those health benefits are just continuing onward. You're going to want them all the time for whatever you're using your hydration for. And it just kind of keeps getting better because not only do you have the health benefits, but they are also coming in as a non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy beverage. And Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthier world. They partner with leading organizations to fund and foster innovative solutions that help communities protect both their waters and their futures. To date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50 plus countries around the world. I cannot wait till the day comes that we get an updated ad brief and it's like now 40 million servings. It's going to be so fun when that happens. We're really going to hang on that one. But for now, we're hanging strong at 39 million, which is still remarkably impressive for Liquid IV to do, because it's like, yeah, it's not just good for you, but good for the world as well.
So, help us get to that number. Help us be the reason that we update this to 40 million servings. And do that by getting 20% off when you grab your Liquid IV Hydration Multiply sugar-free or any other variant at liquidiv.com. And use code STAYWHELMED at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code STAYWHELMED at liquidiv.com.
And as always, thank you for supporting the brands. Support animation, Deliberation.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can knock out this synopsis because our friends at Wikipedia and Ready Steady Cut were prepared for us this week. Thank you for listening to the podcast, I'm assuming, and understanding how crucial your information is for us.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, what were the people at Wikipedia doing last week? That's like the only week we've ever caught them slipping. Is
I
it
know,
just
right?
one guy that's always writing these articles and he was like out of town or something?
You know
I don't
what?
know.
Everyone deserves their vacation. If that's the case, I'll forgive them for it. Just good for you. You're fresh. You got it to us. We're ready to go this week.
Yeah, I was very surprised. But without further ado, Wikipedia, thank you. The
All right.
Shibuya incident. Gojo enters the subway crowded with civilians where he confronts the curses Jogo, Hanami, and Choso. Meanwhile, Yuji accompanies Mei and her brother Yu
Wee wee?
Wiwi.
I thought she was going French for a second, but now I'm seeing that she was actually
Oh my
saying
gosh, it
his
was his
name.
name. Yeah, I was thinking it was also French earlier in the episode. Wow, that took way too long to figure out, but the more you know, ladies and gentlemen.
I figured it out literally a millisecond before you did, so.
So yes, Yuji accompanies Mei and her brother Wiwi, who proceed elsewhere above ground to deal with a newly discovered veil. They discover the appearance of transfigured humans, causing Yuji to realize Mahito is here. He decides to deal with the powerful cursed spirit sensed nearby, while Mei and Wiwi take care of the transfigured humans. Yuji discovers a semi-intelligent grasshopper cursed spirit guarding a tool that controls the veil. Overpowering the curse with his raw strength and destroying the veil, Yuji, Mei, and Wiwi reconvene below ground to discover Mahito, and most of the civilians are gone. Back at the subway, using advice from Geto, Jogo uses the civilians in an attempt to distract and crowd Gojo. He and Hanami execute a domain application, which allows them to deactivate a person's curse technique, forcing Gojo to jump out of the way. Gojo takes off his blindfold, prepared to take the fight seriously, while Jogo remembers Geto's words to keep him busy for 20 minutes while he prepares the prison realm.
How many people had to die before Gojo took that seriously?
I don't know if it
We're
is
not
so
a fan of
much.
that.
I don't know if it's so much that like they had to die for him to take it seriously, but more like he doesn't know what to do in this situation. Like the vibe that I got was he's standing there because he's just like, I can be defensive, but I'm assuming he does not. He like still doesn't seem like he has a plan for how to be offensive, because yeah, Ghetto's plan here is just phenomenal. I was completely blown away by the explanation and the perfect detail that he knew his previous partner at. So I love that side, but I do agree. This, I mean, it wasn't really ever a kid show, but we are in like horror adjacent show
Yeah.
at this point because there
We're
was
definitely
so
Attack on
much.
Titan level of,
Yeah,
not pulling
yeah,
any punches here.
no.
And I give anime studios a lot of credit for this because even the new Bleach has been like this, and in comparison to how it was, where it's just like, okay, they're finally understanding that this isn't content for kids anymore. They're treating it that way. But like for something with Gojo taking on these special grades, I think of his hand-to-hand combat sequence in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, with the chef dude.
Yes.
So it's like you are capable of being fast and using hand to hand. Maybe it's just flinging them around that the damage would come in, but I don't know. I try not to overthink it, but I guess I just complimented them too much on the last two episodes that they just kind of frustrated me a little bit again with this one. Like I feel like the stuff that didn't need. I'm really hoping that this is just foundational for what's to come. I'll leave it at that. Like, make this episode worth it. Don't do what pissed me off with Bad Batch, where you're giving me these filler episodes on a 10 episode series and not like having that add up to anything. So, for
Well,
those who
luckily
have
we
been
have 18
listening to
episodes.
a variety of our shows, I think I can just leave it at that. Like, don't make this useless because I didn't fully understand the purpose of this episode.
I I will echo your sentiments to some degree in the idea of currently I don't feel like I totally understand. However, I feel like they threw a lot of information at us. Like even that synopsis, which is shorter than a lot of the synopses we have done, felt
Mm-hmm.
jam packed with just information that I feel like this was very much a okay, we have to get a lot of the information stuff out of the way. We need to explain the map and like, okay, what are going on at these different levels? Where are the veils? What are the barriers? Who can get through what? Like there was so much of that that I felt so overloaded. I didn't even take notes on that stuff because
Yeah.
I just could not keep track. I was trying so desperately to keep up and keep going. So I feel like I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because it felt like information overload, which generally means, okay, we're getting the information out of the way. But I do think they have to make it up at some point because don't get me wrong, the fight with the Locust Curse was great, but that was about the only pure action that we got. Everything else felt very expositional.
That was a Dragon Ball Z fight.
That fight was weird. The perspective at a lot of points was all over the place.
It it was a lot of weird camera angles. It was a lot of weird widening up those hallways for reasons I cannot
Yes,
explain. And it was just a lot of
Itadori was
Dragon Ball Z
tiny.
fights.
Locust was very big at some points. I was like, I'm pretty sure they saw eye to eye when he walked in. I don't know what's
And
happening here.
at least when Dragon Ball Z does this, like the fat the, the arms flailing, eyes turning, like oh my god, they're so powerful, blah blah blah. Like at least it leads up to something. So when that happened, and then he had the lead, and then like his fist lit up, like I was expecting like the black flash, and it was going to be the spectacle, and it was going to look cool. But then they just go into more explanation of locusts and how they lay eggs, and that's when I was like, this better add up to something because I'm not understanding right now. And then he gets punched in the gut, and while I will admit the shot of his fist being lit up and his eyes glowing like the silhouette of him, like that's a desktop wallpaper right there. That looked fantastic. But
Yes.
again, like why did you give me this history lesson on swarms and how they lay eggs and this really long, drawn out explanation of what the situation was before Mei and Itadori decided where to go. Like, I feel like the things that I don't need are what they're giving me too much of, and the stuff that needs a proper explanation is just like, eh.
Yeah. Again, I think it's all for a bigger purpose because, like we
It
said,
better be.
it's 18 total episodes. We have 16. We have 15 of those episodes left. I don't think we are leaving Shibuya for the rest of the season. I might be wrong, but that's the kind of the way that I'm taking it. Is this is all just the beginning of what's going to happen. We don't even know what the prison realm is. We haven't seen Geto's face yet. There's all the stuff going on with Mahito, aka Patchface, which like thank you for giving us the best and easiest nickname to remember. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I there's so many moving parts that again I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt in the grand scheme. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and I feel like I don't have as much complaint with the Locust fight because I feel like that was kind of meant to be a filler fight. It's the Gojo stuff, and I'm like, give me more. I
Is it
want
like
to
a
know what's
reminder of what
happening there.
Itadori can do? Like, what else should we get out of that?
Yeah, and I
And
think it,
also, as soon as he like your objective wasn't to take out the locust, it was to stop the veil. So the first time you punched him through the wall and the item that you were supposed to destroy was literally right next to you. What was the delay?
Yeah, and we didn't even see him like pick it up or destroy it. Like we don't know what he
No,
did
it
with
was
it. It
literally
was
just a
just
frame of it broken in half,
yeah.
and then he meets up with Meme. Like,
It's it's manga things. I'm sure is what's happening at that point. But yeah, there's a lot to
so
digest and
so
a
Jillian
lot
sends
of
me a
interest.
text after every episode, and this one said Jujutsu Kaisen episode ends. Me, that's it. And I said I almost don't want a podcast that was so uneventful. She said at least they explained some stuff. It was all set up though. Dot dot. And I said no, they attempted to explain stuff. They did a shitty job at it once again. And the
Yeah,
last part is I think I'm biased because it was better than the manga, and I'll take those scraps.
I could see that because again, I think this portion of the manga is very word heavy. So at the very least, adding in a little bit of action is probably better than basically just reading all. Because again, information overload that I could not absorb verbally. If this was all put on a page, I'm done for. That's it. I'm out.
Yeah.
I gotta say, your text that you got from Jillian is far better than mine. Mine just says, "I made my roommate raw dog this new episode." Uh, for reference, her roommate does not watch any
I got,
anime,
I got that
so
text later, but not with that wording.
no, that's just what I got. It's just her roommate doesn't watch anime. She made her roommate watch it with her. But yeah, that's the only text that I got. I still have not had a chance to respond. So I'm just gonna text her back. Your response is waiting for you elsewhere.
I mean, I was literally watching the episode like with my just like side eyeing my phone, like when is her text coming in? Because I know she's watching. It's like clockwork now. I love it.
That's what we call fantastic listeners. And listeners, if you want us to be waiting for your clockwork responses to anything, you can always feel free to email us animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com. Shameless plug, but we do love getting feedback from you, and we would talk about any of the feedback that we got on any of our shows. So by all means, you do
And
not just have to be a friend of ours that texts us all these random things.
I mean, there's a couple of fans that just hit up our Facebook Messenger or our Instagram DMs that
Also
just
that.
kind of respond, and I'll just put my name at the end of it just so you know like who exactly you're talking to. But yeah, like just general conversations. I know I run around a lot, so I forget to respond at some point, but I will attempt to have somewhat of a conversation.
Yes, this is true. So I feel
I
like
in the
we've
car
gotten
a lot.
yeah, that does happen. So we've done a lot of the ranting, and I'm going to do a little. I'm just going to kind of preface the conversation. I want so badly to talk about the morals of Gojo at this point, but I feel like we're not even to the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how gray area civilians are about to be in this season. Because there's all these assumptions out of Geto that like he's not going to use his domain. He's like not going to risk all these people dying. And we watched him just stand there while several people were brutally murdered. Is it actually below Gojo to not just use his power at this point?
I think that's where the flashback episodes become relevant, where because the initial dialogue was like, why should he care about people beneath him? And Gato was like, no, like this is our purpose. We have to save him. And the table kind of flipped. But there
Yeah.
is like the issue of him just being so powerful. Like he doesn't see value in people like that. So I don't know like if his perspective changed because of Gato slipping out or because that actually still is his opinion. And I think we're gonna get that question answered soon.
Yeah. Because the final line of if that's all you have to stop me, then like you're done for feels like he doesn't care enough to let that stop him. And
Yeah, because he one shot
yeah,
both of those dudes in season one. So
yeah, more or less. So I mean, now there's a lot more going on, but
like especially for Hanami, he just shatters that veil that was meant to keep him out by himself, and he was like, "I'm just gonna fire this nuke in this general direction," and like almost destroys her.
yeah, but we also have seen him be pretty direct with that. So like, what if he just shoots it down? Like, just gets on top of him and just goes straight downward with it.
I guess he
Probably
likes
not going to have.
Isadori enough to not want to do that, but
I guess is Itadori below? No, Itadori's not below him at that point.
I mean, he's a grade A sorcerer with a special grade curse, so.
Oh no, I thought you meant physically below. We are talking about basement sub levels. I legitimately was like,
No, no,
wait,
no.
he's not below him. I was talking like the literal
Itadori
map.
and Tojo are right across from Hanami. Like, they watched the thing just kind of go by like a train.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So we're on the same page,
Yeah,
but you were talking different.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there's so many things, and I feel like we are talking a lot about a setup episode.
What we hope is a setup
What we
episode.
hope is a setup episode, and it wasn't a bad episode. Like it was still, I mean, it wasn't a bad like just in general like still was beautiful, still had a lot of the comedy, like the fact that the
Okay,
commercial
but
break was the grasshopper being like, "Are you clever? Oh my god, he's clever!" Like that was fun. I got a chuckle out of that,
did
and I'm just like,
the
do
bar that Mekamaru set was way too high.
I think
This was
we have
quite
set
the
our own
dive.
bars too high. I like,
No, they set it high for us and then do like an instant drop. Because
eh,
like when I watch things like Rurouni Kenshin or Bleach right now, it's like a low episode still makes me feel good. Even Ahsoka right now, like a low episode still makes me feel good. I don't turn it off thinking like, what the hell was that, right? Like there was a couple of Rurouni Kenshin ones where it's like there's a lot of dialogue because this is the framework. We're gonna lead into this. All right, let's do it. And I feel like the intent of this episode was lined up with that perfectly, but the execution, like, maybe I'll think about it 2 days from now and be like, you know what, that was a pretty good episode. I My goal honestly right now is that next week's episode needs to make up for what I felt like was slow for this. Like, yes, it's visually stunning. Yes, we got a little bit more of our characters, but we saw what they can do with just half an episode with Mekumaru, how they ended the first one and started the second one. This
yeah,
needs to ride that momentum, otherwise it's going to make me sit there like, what was the purpose of this? Do not give me that Bad Batch effect.
yeah. You started to say what I was just thinking. Like I was coming up with a defense or attempting to come up with a defense, and in the process realized no, I can't defend this because if we look back at the conversation we had last week about how great those first two premiere episodes were, and that they crammed basically a full episode's worth of stuff into half an episode. Like both times we were like, oh, the episode's over, but no, that was only the commercial break. Whereas this time we're sitting here with a full episode that almost doesn't even feel as rounded as those half episodes were the last 2 weeks. So I hate to compare episodes to each other because I agree that I feel like stories and shows need to go through these ebbs and flows, but they did unfortunately set themselves up for failure at least a little bit. Like I think they could have come out swinging, come out strong, but slowed things down a little bit to like, hey, don't forget JJK exists. We're gonna fly high up here, and then kind of like lower the plane a little bit, and then go back up, as opposed to fly really, really high and then go back to ground level
Yeah.
and now we're waiting for the takeoff again. Like they needed to find that middle ground. And the more that we have talked, I don't love to just have a podcast where we're bashing on things, but you all listen
We
to
don't
us
do it
whine on the
often.
internet. So it's fine. It's still because it's like the defense that I was trying to get to is that this is still better than old school anime filler or better than other shows, but it's not fair to say that because like they have set themselves up in such a way
Yeah.
that we have these high expectations. Like if Attack on Titan had a filler episode, we would be like, what in the world is going on right now?
We
So
never understood what the main plot of Spy Family was, and still their filler episodes were incredible episodes.
well that is an apples to oranges comparison because Spy is like a comedy wherein if you have a literal underground tennis tournament, I am satisfied because
I think, I mean,
yeah,
not that you watch it, but I think Rurouni Kenshin is the best comparison. Then it is coming out weekly the same, but it follows a manga. It has a story. I have not read the manga for Rurouni Kenshin or what are we talking about? Jujutsu Kaisen, but when I watch the episodes, like even the slow fillery episodes of Rurouni Kenshin, like make me feel good about the content that I just watched and have me excited for the next few. But like a few of these flashbacks episodes did not make me feel this way. Today's episode did not make me feel this way. They have an option to make me regret these words next week, and at that point I will actually I just told Reed this because I was doing 323 before this. He was like, "Yeah, I've been meaning to get into that show," and I straight up said, "Just wait for the season to end and binge it all together." Like when Jay Scotty first said that he was going to do that, I was like, "No, it's Jujutsu Kaisen. How could you watch with us?" And now I'm just like, you know what? Good for him.
Good for him that he is not suffering through
Yeah,
6 months of waiting. I don't know. I know I was higher on the first 5 episodes, but I am also, and I love you, but I'm going to say it. I'm a glass half full. You're a glass half empty. I think that's why this show works, because we usually attack problems from very different angles.
sure.
But I'm currently with you. Like, I don't want to say it's a binge show, because that's what I say. Like, that's kind of my biggest knock that I will ever give shows, is be like, this is something you should binge. So I'm not there yet,
I'm
but
saying I
it's,
love season one and I binged that.
yeah, it. And I'm looking back at season one, like, because I also binged it. I was not with the times at that point enough to be like, when it was coming out. And I do think about how slow some of those arcs felt. So I'm like, is this just how season one felt before? And we're missing that because it's weekly. I'm not totally sure, but I think there's plenty to come. I think they just didn't. The tease at the end was not enough to keep us wanting more. It was just a tease of like, well, why didn't we get more? And it's a tumultuous balance. So yeah, we gotta wait and see. I think they have the redeemable qualities. They know they have them. We just gotta hope they use them in the right ways at the right time.
Yep, they have plenty of episodes to redeem themselves.
That they do, and we're gonna be talking about all of them
Yeah.
because yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, I think there also is a lot of how much the manga fans have been raving about this. So I think that kind of set expectations super high too.
I am trying to. I've gone in with level expectations. I think I'm going in with level expectations after My Hero Academia, because I feel like manga fans also really did that one up, and it was great, but it was
You know what?
not to the level that the manga fans put it in my book.
I think I ignored manga fans a lot better for My Hero. I didn't hear anything from them going into that one.
Okay.
Like my roommate and one of my friends like tried talking about it, and I literally left the restaurant for 20 minutes and then came back in like, you assholes done.
Oh
But
my.
some of this stuff I just like come across Twitter, which is weird because like I don't interact with anime stuff on Twitter that often. So it's like Shibuya incident, Shibuya incident. So it's like I guess it's like I couldn't avoid it for this one, but like I loved every single episode of My Hero season 6, and they could honestly do no wrong in that season the way that that went,
And that's what I'm saying. That season
and I'm
was
not
great.
feeling that way here.
Yeah, no, that season was fantastic. But I remember people talking about like, oh my god, the Dark Deku arc. We're not even there yet. It's just beginning. It's going to get so much worse. And like, the Dark
Yeah, I
Deku
guess
arc
I
was
did hear about that a little bit.
awesome, but I don't feel like it was some edgy, dark. Like, he took a turn, but he didn't take a
Yeah,
full. Like, I was expecting like him to just beat the crap out of somebody the way that people were talking about it. It's like, no, he still had his morals. He was still Deku. He just like was trying to do it solo, and I think that's a very good example of like the
no, you're right.
separation.
I did hear about that one a lot.
And I think that also puts this back into perspective. Everyone that I have heard has said the words Shibuya incident. That's going to be this entire season. Like, the next episode is titled the Shibuya incident colon something else. I can't remember quite what it's. Open Gate or something like that. But that tells me the Shibuya incident is continuing. Again, it's probably going to be this whole season is the incident.
Gate
I don't
comma
want to.
open.
Yeah, I don't want to call out manga fans, be like, "You're overhyping this," until it's all over, because I'm sure it's going to be
Oh, no.
something that totally surprises us by the end, but it becomes very hard to do it in an episodic format, because I think that's one thing that, like, I haven't read much manga in my day, but I have read the first issue of Attack on Titan. And I think that first issue is like half of the first season. So you didn't have to wait a long time to figure out what was going on. You were just page turning, and figuring it out, and figuring it out. And I don't know how long the Shibuya incident is, but let's say it's only 2-3 volumes. That's not a ton to have to wait for, whereas we're waiting every single week trying to figure out what the next piece is, whereas this may have been 10 pages that they could just keep going to the next 10. And there's so much of that that I think is lost in translation, and we don't talk about that much because the crossover of anime and manga has always been a heated battlefield, and I feel like we're on this show we've always tried to kind of bring it together, but it still is difficult.
Yeah. And I apologize if this is somebody's first time listening or being this hard on
Yeah,
it.
this is like a full TED talk that these people are getting. This is
But
not
it's
our
not,
usual jovial
it
stuff.
hasn't like deterred me from watching in any way, right? It's just, it's unfortunate that, this was just a decision that they took. And again, I'm just hoping that it's foundational and that all this biology lesson that I got of locusts will pay off.
So that is one thing I don't think is going to pay off. I don't know what that was.
Don't tell me that right now. I will
I
erupt again.
I feel like
I
everything
will go
else.
full Jogo, full
Well,
domain, whatever the hell it's called, and just erupt. Do not
so
tell me that right now.
someday you will get this reference, but I am truly getting some Chimera Ant vibes from that Locust flashback, and it's not a diss. It's not anything like that.
No, this isn't a someday I'll get it. What the hell is a chimera ant?
Well, no, when you watch Hunter x Hunter, and then you will understand what a chimera ant is, and then you will understand the slog that was the chimera ant arc, which is like the best arc, but also the most what is happening every single episode.
What in the bug's life is that?
Now I have him looking up chimera ants, which is you can't. Oh god! Again,
What
it's
is
my
this
favorite.
chameleon looking dude? What
It
the
is my.
hell?
He's one of the ants. Hunter is my favorite anime still to this day. So just like you having it
But
with
like
zero
this image
context
is
is
throwing me
so
off
funny to
because
me.
like he his tongue is coming out towards the food, but his tail looks very similar, so it looks like his tongue is just coming out his mouth, under his butt, and like out his back. Like just a very messed up Mewtwo.
Oh gosh,
We're so off the rails right now.
we
Do
are
you
so
have
off the
anything else
rails.
about this show and this episode?
Oh, you want me to talk about this show?
Yeah.
No, I think that is all that I have, and I swear that was actually a poignant reference because they do a lot of biological conversations in that show. But yeah, no, this is all I have for JJK. I'm excited to be back next week because I think it's just going to be more and more and more, or I hope it's going to be more and more and more. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
let's see Gojo go manic. I'm ready for it.
yeah. Let's just cut them loose.
Make
Honestly,
him
at
sweat.
this point, let's do the whole thing. But yeah, I think that's all we have for JJK. But is there anything else that you have going on, Zuri?
Outside of this,
Yeah.
I recorded my episode on Peeves Gapfest where I gave my perspective of the Harry Potter movies of somebody who never read the books and is reading the books for the first time. So keep an eye out for that and give them a follow. Be sure to check out 323 with Reed Murphy. I was not as sleep deprived this week, so I was a lot more coherent, but entertaining nonetheless. There is still much silliness and much laughter. Definitely check that out. What else? What else? Check out my friend's TikTok, the Buffest Hunter, because we play Destiny all the time. He makes great Destiny videos, but whenever he live streams, it's typically me, him, and one of my other friends, and that's another thing where it's like we're either just like totally off the rails. He's watching Letterkenny for the first time, so there's a lot of references over there. And then sometimes like we just talk anime too. So while shooting aliens, I'm just talking about anime. So
Amazing.
Yeah, no shortage of ways to hear and find me. So check me out on all the places if that is what you desire.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic.
And like Zuhair said, check out all of our friends on social media, all of our other great shows. You can also check us out on all of your favorite social medias. And yeah, just give us that love and support. We always love hearing from you guys, like we said, partway through the episode. So if you have any strong or weak thoughts, send them our way. Who knows what we're going to do with them besides read them? Maybe we'll read them on the show as well, but we will definitely give you a reply, give our thoughts, and maybe you could turn us around on this episode. You never know. Hopefully JJK turns us around next week. Yeah, I was starting to close the episode, but I realized I never close the episodes because I'm like, I can't
I'm
give
about to
my
say you
outro
set
first.
yourself up perfectly.
I really did, and I paused. I was like, I can't do anything besides just say muscle,
no,
muscle.
you set up yourself perfectly for Scoots' line. Like, yeah, be sure to keep up with JJK, and hopefully next week is good. And in order to find out, be sure to tune in next time. That's TOONIN. And as always, stay whelmed.
Oh, not knowing how to end a show is great. Muscle, muscle.
Thank you for listening to the Animation Deliberation Podcast, a proud member of the Stranded Panda Network. If you would like to contact us, you can email animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter @animationdelib1. For this and other great shows, you can visit strandedpanda.com or join the great community that is the Stranded Panda Chat Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/svchat. Tune in next time, and remember, stay whelmed.